this new thing with Gavin Newsom on the Sean Ryan show. And Gavin Newsom apparently was kind of confronted by a question by Joe Rogan, because Sean Ryan and Joe Rogan are friends. Joe Rogan has some pretty strong feelings about the vaccine mandate and what happened in 2020. So now this is everywhere, and I haven't watched much on it, but I'm very excited to go and, see what he had to say. So let's give it a shot.
The governor of California, soon-to-be presidential candidate, appeared recently on the Sean Ryan show, and towards the end of the interview, the subject turned to the trans issue. Newsom continued his unceremonious and unexplained, and as we'll see, very clumsy backpedal on the issue. This is a guy who was once such an enthusiastic peddler of extreme LGBT propaganda that he unironically used the term Latinx on multiple occasions. But now that he has ambitions to hold national office...
You know, this guy, Gavin Newsom, I don't know, man. Like, he's making his presidential bid. He wants to lay the groundwork now, kind of seem moderate. But I got to tell you, I don't think anyone's buying it. I know Matt Walsh has some pretty strong feelings about it. He's more on the conservative side of things. I would say I'm a moderate, but man, some of the stuff he says just blows my mind. I mean, how could we actually believe it? Like when he had Charlie Kirk on there, and all he did was kiss his ass the entire time. I don't know. I don't know what to think about him, and I don't think anyone on the left or the right are buying it. Hey, what's up, Goat Boy? Do you like scary movies? Absolutely. Who doesn't like scary movies?
He's pretending to be a more moderate voice. But he can't explain this pivot or articulate what exactly changed for him. And never has that been more obvious than when Sean Ryan asked Newsom how he feels about gender transitions for children. Newsom, who was once a big fan of castrating kids, now has this to say on the subject.
Ooh, let's see.
What about for your values? I mean, is 8 years old too young?
Yeah, I mean, look, I now that I have a 9-year-old, just became 9. Come on, man. I
Little
get it.
stutter step and step there.
So those are legit. You know, it's interesting. Just the issue of age. I haven't. It's interesting. As someone that's been so focused on equality, broadly LGBT rights, particularly gay marriage. Mm-hmm. The trans issue for me is also novel. It's over the last few years. I'm trying to understand as much as anyone else, and this notion of gender affirming care for children, that's tough, man. And the science on that, I haven't dove that deep into it, but I read one report and then there's one that's slightly.
He hasn't dove that deep into it. Here he is, the governor of California, and he's the one that does push this quite a bit. And now, again, backpedal, sidestep. It's typical politician.
Contradictory, and then they said there's no contradictory. Here's what the UK just came out with. You're full of shit. It's absolutely scientifically sound that it's outrageous. And so it's intense.
Oh, well, okay then. Thank you for that eloquent dissertation on the topic, Governor. And just in case you missed any of this brilliant man's brilliant response, let me just read a partial transcript. This was his response to the question of whether 8-year-olds are too young for sex changes. A question that any rational adult should be able to answer in one simple word, which is yes. Yes, they're too young. Or 2 words, hell yes. Or at most 5 words, hell yes. Are you insane? That would be a fine answer too. But it took the governor a lot more than 5 words. Here's the transcript of what he said. He said, yeah, I mean, look, now that I have a 9-year-old, just became 9. Come on, man, I get it. So those are legit. It's interesting, just the issue of age. It's interesting as someone who's been so focused on equality broadly, LGBT, gay marriage, the trans issue for me is also novel. It's over the last few years, I'm trying to understand, like anyone else, the whole pronoun thing. I'm trying to understand all that. That was all that stuff. I get it.
Wow, that was
of course, you can't forget
eloquent
the hand
response
signals when you're reading a Gavin Newsom quote. He's always doing the hand, I don't know what all this is. Looks like he's directing planes on a runway, or like he's a sign language interpreter who isn't actually fluent in sign language. Although based on that quote, it would also seem that he isn't fluent in English either. If you're stressed about back taxes, maybe you missed the April deadline, or your books are a mess, don't wait. The IRS is cracking down. Penalties add up fast, 5% per month, up to 25% just for not filing. But there's help. Tax Network USA can take the tax burden off of your shoulders and stop the spiral before it gets worse. They've helped thousands of Americans, whether you're an employee, a small business owner, or haven't filed in years. Messy books, no problem. They've seen it all and know exactly how to clean it up. With direct access to powerful IRS programs and expert negotiators on your side, Tax Network USA knows how to win, and you'll get a free consultation and learn all about if you qualify. They may even be able to reduce or eliminate what you owe. More importantly, they'll help protect you from wage garnishments or bank levies. So don't wait for the next IRS letter. Call 800-958-1000.
Yeah, don't tangle with the IRS.
To talk to
I've done
a real
that once
expert
before.
at Tax Network USA. Take the pressure off. Let Tax Network USA handle your tax issues. But in any case, there are just 2 points I want to make here, and we won't belabor it. But first of all, Newsom is attempting to moderate on the trans issue in the only way that he can, if he also wants to preserve any hope of winning a Democrat primary. So he can't come out and be fully rational and sane and clear, because rational, sane, clear people don't win Democrat primaries. But he also can't be a whack job trans activist, because whack job trans activists don't win general elections. This is the box that every Democrat on the national stage has created for themselves. Newsom is now staking out the only ground available to him, which is why he's adopting this kind of aw shucks tone of a guy who isn't quite sure what's going on, but he's trying to figure it out. It's also complicated. It's tough. It's intense. It's so intense, man. Come on.
Dude, it's hard. He backed himself into a corner all these the past 5 years or so. And plus, I think we all know the state that California is in and has been in since 2020. And you can look at the riots, you can look at the fires, you can look at the homelessness. I mean, constantly he's been not making things easy for people who live out there. He hasn't been doing anything great. And he's had some pretty strong opinions about things that he felt was the best way to go about it in the public eye. But now public opinion has changed, and now he's trying to backpedal a little bit. It's not looking good for him.
Man, this is a tough one. Jeez, it's like, wow, am I right? Now, an approach like this would make a lot of sense and be totally credible if Sean Ryan had asked him to give his take on like quantum mechanics or something, but that's not what Ryan asked. Instead, he asked whether we should castrate 8-year-old boys to turn them into girls. It's not a tough question. It's not complicated. It's not something that you need to figure out, and you certainly shouldn't still be figuring it out years later. We're supposed to believe that Newsom has spent the last 10 years of his life deeply reflecting on the question of whether we should try to turn boys into girls. And 10 years into these reflections, he still isn't sure. This is supposed to be a more palatable response than a full-fledged endorsement of trans ideology. But if anything, it somehow manages to be, I would argue, maybe less palatable. It kind of reminds me of the people that you run into on occasion.
Dude, authenticity is key. You know, you can tell when someone's trying to bullshit you. And I think everyone can feel it from him. And here's the thing. If he messed up, and I think that everyone probably has some sort of bone to pick with Gavin Newsom, I think the best thing to do, especially if you want to try to, I'm sure he's going to make his presidential bid, is just to say, look, did the best I could. Thought I was doing the right thing. I changed my opinion. I read some facts. And just come out with it. But he always seems to want to like pass the buck just a little bit, right? Not take any accountability. And that's the question that everyone has.
Online anyway, who will say that they aren't in the flat earth cult, but they're open to the flat earth arguments. You know, you hear that every once in a while. And I can understand conceptually, I can understand the concept of someone being totally insane and thinking that the earth is flat. I can also understand being sane and normal and knowing that the earth isn't flat. I can't understand knowing that the earth isn't flat, but being open to the possibility that it is. And that's the kind of middle ground between insanity and sanity that Newsom and many other Democrats are trying to stake for themselves, and it just doesn't work. It will never work. Secondly, as we see all these former believers in the trans cause throw down their trans flags and retreat, I do want to make another thing very clear, which is that I'm happy that at this point, there's almost nobody left on the public stage who's willing to outright defend the castration and mutilation of children. almost nobody will outright defend it. And that's a very positive development. But if you ever did defend it, you are not welcome on Team Sanity. You will never be welcome here. Like, I know we're supposed to be gracious and merciful after winning the battle, but frankly, I'm not a very gracious or merciful person. I don't pretend to be. Not on an issue like this, because if you ever claimed that men are women, that biological sex doesn't exist, that men can get pregnant, that boys can become girls, it tells us that you are either so incredibly stupid as to have bought into that propaganda, or that you're so incredibly soulless and dishonest and cowardly as to have pretended that you bought into it. In either case, you have permanently discredited yourself. It's the same reason why I would never trust a sex predator around my kids or anyone else's kid.
I think, obviously he has some clear feelings on this, and I do as well. Anything with the kids, I don't think that that's right. And I don't think that most people do. Everyone wants a cause to fight for. And I brought this up on yesterday's stream, how people, if they can link something into kids and how it protects them, it's this like mind virus that it makes them want to fight for it, want to do it, even if it's not the right thing to do. And, when it comes to people being trans, he's talking about basic biology, and I agree with that. At the same time, I don't really give a shit. If you want to transition, have at it, man. Have a great life. This is America. You should be able to do that. But don't pass it on the kids, and don't look down on people that, don't want to do it, right? Or force it in their face. Over the last 5 years, I've really seen this thing. Before then, it was your rights end where mine begin. And it doesn't seem that that's really the case anymore. It's if you have a cause or a perceived cause, I can shove it in your face as much as possible, and you have to listen to it. And again, I think the tide is turning now. People don't really bite off on that, believe it. They feel more comfortable maybe coming out and saying, well, I don't agree with that. And when it comes to kids, no one should agree with that, right? And I fall back to the basic argument that everyone has, or at least that I've heard. If we don't let kids get tattoos before 18, why do we let them transition? Let them figure it out a little bit.
Even if he claims to have reformed and changed his ways. It's the same reason why I'll never trust the word of a pathological liar, even if he says he isn't a pathological liar anymore. There are things you can do in life, positions you can take, things you can say that are so deeply deranged and debased and evil that they become permanent, irreversible stains on your reputation and your credibility. And this is one of those things. Now, of course, there are a million other reasons why Gavin Newsom has no credibility and should never be trusted or taken seriously. This is just one of them. And it's also just one of the reasons, though a very significant reason, why Gavin Newsom is today canceled. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page.
There you go. Yeah, I like Matt Walsh.
Hope to see you there.
He's really good at what he does. He brings up some really good points. I think he's not my favorite, though. I really like Charlie Kirk because he is more fact-based when it comes to a lot of things than opinion-based. The interesting thing about this one is he didn't show anything about the Joe Rogan question, and I thought that was going to get brought up here. So let's go ahead and let's take a look. All right. And Sean Ryan, to anyone that watches him, his podcasts are like 4 hours long. And so I'm sure he's got all sorts of clips and sound bites about this all over the place. So the first one that comes up is from a news source called The Hill. I don't know if I trust that, but then again, who can you trust on the internet? Oh, here we go. Let's watch this one, the Rubin Report. This will be really good.
Joe Rogan texted me.
Mother Joe. I loved it. By the way, I'm a Joe Rogan fan. He ain't a fan.
Motherfucker Joe. I know that he is going to get, or he knows that he's going to get slammed by Joe Rogan. He doesn't pull any punches. And of course, he jumps right into, I'm a Joe Rogan fan. This is the same thing he did with Charlie Kirk, right? I don't know. Doesn't work, Gavin. Doesn't work.
But I'm a Joe Rogan fan. No bull.
Right on.
And I've lived with it for I feel like it's a decade.
A good friend of mine. So this is from Joe Rogan.
Oh, God.
This is a tough one.
He won't have me on the show, by the way.
Let's just go ahead and start with the evil lizard man. That's right, Gavin Newsom. Every time you think he's down and out, this man, every time he does something horrible, every time he lies, every time he gets exposed, every time he shows up at a disaster site and looks worse than the time before, you think he's done, right? But he's like Freddy Krueger. You gotta bury his bones. And even when you do that, somehow he comes back for Freddy's revenge.
Is that true?
And that
you gotta do that for
what
Freddy
Gavin
Krueger?
Newsom is. He is just an evil, slimy scumbag. But he's making the rounds on podcasts. Here he is on the Sean Ryan Show, talking about that he's a fan of Joe Rogan, although Joe doesn't like him nor want him on the show, and gets into a little bit of his policy around why he did things as it pertained to COVID. Take a look.
About 2 minutes after I did the post,
What do you got?
Joe Rogan texted me.
Mother Joe. I loved, by the way, I'm a Joe Rogan fan. He ain't a fan of mine, but I'm a Joe Rogan fan. No bull.
Right on.
And I've lived with it for I feel like it's a decade.
A good friend of mine. So this is from Joe Rogan.
Oh, God.
This is a tough one.
He won't have me on the show, by the way.
Who will be held accountable for mandating COVID-19 vaccines for children, which were unnecessary and ineffective? And who will take responsibility for the unprecedented increases in myocarditis and cancer cases among them? Second to that, do you feel any remorse for that draconian decision that was obviously heavily influenced by the pharmaceutical companies' desire for maximum profit?
Florida shut down their bars and restaurants before California. Before California. The question was, when did we start to unwind some of those restrictions? California was more restrictive, and we were certainly aggressive at scale. As it relates to vaccines, vaccines save lives. But Joe asked a very different question about children, and I respect that. And that was where there was a lot of feedback with a lot of experts that I had as advisors. By the way, I used advisors from 2 other states. So with humility, seriously, humility and grace, I've asked them to have that report done. It's going to be done next month. And it'll be the only state that I know of that is putting out a truly objective review of what went right and what went wrong. And I know everyone's a goddamn genius now in hindsight.
No,
I'm not hearing anyone taking accountability. I mean, that was the question, right? I don't know. I mean, Joe Rogan hit him hard. He didn't have a response for it. And California was a disaster zone and still is in a lot of cases.
just that we didn't trust people like you. You, Gavin Newsom, are the reason that I don't live in California anymore, or this guy over here, or this guy over here, or this guy over here.
I will try to be at least a little objective on this and say, you know, when COVID happened, look, no one knew what it was. We didn't know what to do. The vaccine was started under Trump's administration. So I think it kind of bridges all political affiliations, right? And so, but at the same time, Joe Rogan's not wrong. You know, did these kids need the vaccine? I think we knew that back then, and they were still trying to push it, which they didn't need it. The other thing is the side effects of the vaccine now, pretty disastrous. As a cop, I was on the first wave of every front of the vaccine. So when it was initially released, they released it to first responders first because we actually had to go into people's homes and we had to get around people that potentially had COVID. So they gave it to us before they put it on to the mass population. And it's funny. So I took, I think I took 3 doses of it. And we always got it again before they released it to the public. On the 3rd one, they sent an email out to us and they said, okay, you're up for your dose. And by the way, I didn't do it out of any political, I wasn't one of those people that looked down on people for didn't do it. In fact, I kind of admired them and I think they made the right call. I just did it because I didn't want someone to get sick and potentially die because of me as a police officer if I walked in. And that was just my personal decision. And that's kind of how I felt was my responsibility. But anyway, the third email came out that said, hey, you can go get your vaccine. And I went and got it. And then right after that, a follow-up email came out, and it said, and I want to say this was from the CDC, although I can't quite remember now. And they said that you didn't need the vaccine, the third vaccine, unless you were above 60 years old or whatnot, and I'd already gotten it. So since that time, I mean, I don't share too much medical information, but I've been to the emergency room twice for blood clots and things that I never had prior to the vaccine. So I don't know that anyone can truly prove cause and effect, but at the same time, you know, it's happened to me, and I believe it was because of those vaccines.
2 other people in that office. They didn't live in Cali then, but they've moved down to Florida subsequently because we moved several operations over here, and thousands, actually hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of people, it's a little hard to get the exact numbers, fled because of you and your draconian lockdowns. I love how he implies Florida did the bars and restaurants first. That may be true. I'm not even sure if that's true, but then Florida learned quickly. Everyone, and I include myself in this, and we were all screwed up at the beginning, right? Those 2 weeks to stop the spread, 15 days, everyone was completely bananas. You give credit then to the people who started realizing lunacy early and extricated themselves either from states that were stamping on their constitutional rights or from just the general systems that were not allowing them to walk outside of their house or anything else. He shows he still has no remorse. And by the way, everything about him, every body movement, and we'll get more into this in a second, every body movement with him, the way every single thing with this man is inauthentic. He has imposter syndrome.
The politician.
And he is deeply, deeply evil. We've all been told wrinkle creams are the secret to looking younger, but according to Beverly Hills beauty expert Dr. John Lake, that's outdated advice. Most products are just overpriced moisturizers that barely work and may even harm your skin. Dr. Lake has shifted his focus to a breakthrough anti-aging method that some call Photoshop for the face. His simple at-home technique, nicknamed the Age Rewinder Method, can visibly erase wrinkles in under 2 minutes. To help people everywhere, he's released a free step-by-step video revealing exactly how it works. Millions have already watched, and the feedback has been incredible, with thousands saying they look years younger. One user raved, "Best results I've ever seen. I'll never stop using this." Watch the free video at bhmd1.com/Ruben or click the link in the description below. Dr. Lake asks one thing: if it helps you feel younger and more confident, please share it with friends and family so more people can experience the results. Watch the video at bhmd1.com.
Right before they ask for your credit card number.
The vaccines did not work. They did not stop anyone from getting nor transmitting COVID. And by the way, don't take my word for it on this. How many of you watching this right now know people that did not get the vaccine? Is there anyone that you know that didn't get the vaccine that's like, I sure do wish I got that COVID vaccine with my regular sized heart? It's like, I think I'm better than everybody. No, everybody that didn't get the vaccine is thrilled they didn't get it. I'm thrilled that I did not get it and I didn't succumb to the pressure. And how many people do you know that got the vaccine and
I am not thrilled that I got it. Just throwing that out there.
seriously regret it, either because they've been vaccine injured or they don't know why they got it, or suddenly they have shingles or some other autoimmune disease, or they just don't like the fact that they capitulated to the evil in government like Gavin Newsom. Here's more.
Now, do you really think that the vaccine prevented people from getting COVID?
I think it prevented the acuity of the symptoms and disease and kept people out of the emergency rooms. And I think that's universally accepted, at least by 90% of objective experts.
Man, I don't know. I just, I wound up getting the vaccine. It's one of the only things I regret. and I
See, here's the question. Kept people out of the emergency rooms, right? From COVID. I think that, maybe he's right. I mean, the vaccine doesn't stop you from getting it. If I remember correctly, it just makes you asymptomatic. So it's not really a vaccine on that front. That was kind of a misnomer. But the problem is how many people ended up in the emergency department like myself afterwards. And you can't capture those stats because you can't say it's 100% by COVID, and that's the problem.
Did it?
Which one was it? Did you go old school Johnson and Johnson?
Pfizer.
So you did the mRNA. Yeah, you did the novel, a different version.
And I was scared to death I was going to miss the birth of my son, so I took it, and then I got COVID like a couple weeks later.
Look, it's messy. Life's messy. Public health is messy, and there's no experts out here. There's again back to, I just think everybody, I don't know how to best say it. Anyone has certainty about what we did or didn't do or could have. I mean, just.
No, you are the artist. You are the evil head of the snake here. You are the one that locked all these people down, and the levels of depression that went up and suicide that went up, and the amount of kids that are just stupid now in California because you kept them out of school for so long and you forced parents. There's Sean Ryan saying it right there. Why did he get the COVID vaccine? He's a young, healthy guy. He got it because he wanted to make sure he could see the birth of his son. And he regrets it. He says, I regret it. And what did Gavin Newsom do? He laughed. He laughed. He has no human empathy in his cold reptilian heart. And the reason I am hitting him right now like this, and I will continue to do it every time
he's going
he goes on
hard.
one of those shows. And by the way, we have followed up again to get me on the podcast. For some reason, he won't have me on the podcast. Gav, I'll do it anytime, wherever you want, as long as it is live and unedited. I will be there. Where are you? But the reason we will keep doing this with him is because he is going to run for president. It is obvious.
There we
no
go.
matter how many times he gets exposed?
Exactly what I said.
He still just keeps walking towards the fire. That is because he's cold-blooded and he needs the warmth of the fire to stay alive.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I can't stand Gavin Newsom. I don't know if I would call him a cold-blooded lizard man, but I do find that I'm kind of more in the middle in a lot of these things. But that being said, I can't really stand him. I think his policies suck. And there you go. He got confronted with a lot of the stuff he did, and he just doesn't know how to answer it. So